Happy Thursday, everyone. I am jumping on here to talk a little bit about the challenges of being a solopreneur. Because I talk to a lot of people that want to start a business, but they're scared of starting the business because they might be all alone or they might be overwhelmed because they're starting it as a solopreneur. But there's so many resources out there nowadays that can help you overcome being alone, being a solopreneur, that there's really no excuse not to start a business. I mean, unless you really don't want to be an entrepreneur and really don't have that kind of tenacity it takes. So I want to jump on and just talk about a few things today, that some challenges that come up. So time management and workload. So too often as a solopreneur, people think, hey, I'm going to be overwhelmed. It's going to take me too much time. I don't have a staff, a team. But there's so many tools out there. You can just time block. I mean, the simplest thing, time block in your Outlook calendar or whatever calendar, Google Calendar. That's the easiest way. But there's so many other resources out there, like Monday, which is something I use for my company, Asana, Trello. There's so many resources out there that allow you to manage your workload, that it becomes easier and easier to do that. You know, number two, for solopreneurs, it's that financial risk and the stability. But if you know what your services are and what you're looking to do with your services, like how much they're going to cost, what your overhead is, maintaining a budget, that it's really doable. It's just knowing what needs to happen to make it happen and being consistent in doing that. Number three, isolation and lack of support. I mean, this is probably the biggest one I see. Too often I see people that, hey, I'm started this business, and then they pull back because those voices in your head jump on and they're like talking to you about, maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe you should do this over here, and you just keep changing, and there's no lack of support. I mean, there's a lack of support, right? Because you're not supporting yourself because that voice in your head is talking too much. So joining like a mastermind, a coaching community, attending networking events, meeting like-minded people, those are all key things in starting and running a business. Doesn't matter whether you're a solopreneur, a business owner with employees or contractors, doesn't matter where you are in business. But those are all key things. I mean, I still am in masterminds, I'm in coaching programs. So those are all essential for any business owner, but especially for solopreneurs. You know, there's co-working spaces that are out there that allow you to network with other people that are usually those are solopreneurs that are in those co-working spaces. You know, number four, skill gaps. Solopreneurs think, you know, especially when they're starting a company, they think that they don't know everything. And usually we don't, right? We're starting a company and there's so many things to know about running a company. And oftentimes we are everything when we start. We're the accountant, we're the business manager, we're the salesperson, we're the, you know, you name it. We're the website designer, we're the marketer, we're the implementer of whatever the service is. We're everything. So don't be afraid to invest in education. Don't be afraid to, that doesn't mean go get back and get a master's or anything like that, but there's so many online courses today. There's online courses, workshops from coaches, from, you know, YouTube. There's so many things. There's some that are free, some that are paid, and figure out what works for you and what you're lacking until you can actually farm out some of those pieces, you know, because like I don't do my own accounting. I have an accountant that does that. I set up my payroll, but I have ADP that runs my payroll. Things like that. So until you're ready to do that, just invest in some education, or, you know, and sometimes it's just simply your time to do that education. It's not that you don't even have to pay, because there's so many free resources out there. You know, one of the greatest challenges I see for solopreneurs in business is scaling a business, because, you know, we figure out like, what can we as one person do? And it really depends on what your services are or what you're trying to sell, because we can automate processes where you can keep your business pretty small, but still make a lot of money. So there's ways out there now that didn't exist even 5 or 10 years ago that you can automate and still earn a lot of money and scale the business. And that's one of the things, it's the beauty of today is you don't have to be as a solopreneur, okay, I can only make $50,000 or $75,000, because there's so many tools out there, depending again on what your knowledge is, what your education is, what you're trying to sell, what are your services that you can do to scale the business. And not, you may need some contractors, maybe a virtual assistant that helps you, maybe you get your accountant to help you on certain aspects, but you don't necessarily have to be a huge company to scale a business. It just depends on what your services are. Number 6, decision making. And I've been talking about decision making in the last couple of live streams I've done, because we get into this pressure situation as a business owner. And imagine if you were a solopreneur, and especially a startup solopreneur, on what those decision-making pressures are. I can remember back in the day, 10 years ago, when I started this business and just like being frozen because I couldn't make a decision. I was just sitting there like, do I do this? Do I do this? I mean, if anyone can relate, give me a thumbs up, but I just couldn't make that decision. And I had to like research everything. But remember, there's advisors out there, there are coaches out there, there are mentors out there, there's masterminds out there that all can help you as a solopreneur make decisions more quickly and more consistently. Never feel like you are all alone out in the world. Never feel like you're all alone. Always look for the other resources that are out there. Number 7, maintaining work-life balance. I don't even know if there is such a thing as work-life balance in reality. I mean, I've heard people that talk about it. I've heard people that are all about work-life balance. Is there work-life balance? I don't know. Sometimes work is more, sometimes life is more. And I think it's finding what the flow is for you. What is the best use of your time in your life? What are your goals? Because ultimately that's what you want. You want to know, what are my goals and what am I doing to get to those goals? And that's what needs to happen. But as long as you set clear boundaries, so when you are at home, take time off from the computer. That may be hard. I can't say I do that all the time, but that's up to you. Again, it's based on your goals and then setting clear boundaries to make those goals happen. Number 8, keeping up with industry changes. And this is all about just staying educated. So depending on what your industry is, so mine is business coaching for startups and solopreneurs, and then marketing. Obviously, the marketing side, I've really got to stay up to date on, because things change all the time. I mean, Google comes in, makes changes. Social media makes changes. Instagram might make a change. Facebook might make a change. They all change. I mean, there's the constant is change. Let's just be real. But subscribing to industry publications, talking to other people in your industry. Remember, some of your best resources might be other people that own similar companies to you. Don't feel like it's going to be competition, because you can collaborate with others just as easily as you can collaborate with someone in a different business. There's plenty of business to go around for everyone. So don't ever feel like there's too much, you might have too much competition with someone. Resources and networking. Sometimes as a solopreneur, and even for me as a business owner, like I find like my time gets crunched down, and maybe I don't network as much as I feel like I should network. And it's just a matter, again, of setting time aside to make it happen. If I know I want to make X amount of money, and I know it takes so many touches with different people to make that happen in the networking world, then I know how many networking events I should go to every week and where I need to go with that, right? So it's just a matter of like, what networking can you join? So my company belongs to 2 chambers in the local area. I also belong to NPI in the local area. And I do some online networking as well. But it's just a matter of knowing what resources are out there and staying up on those resources and staying consistent with those resources. So if you're going to join a chamber, then utilize the chamber. Because just because you join a chamber like a Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce or the Boca Raton Chamber of Commerce, which we're members of, doesn't mean you're going to get business. People aren't just going to look you up and call you up and hand you business. Occasionally, rare occasion does that happen. But you have to make the chamber work for you. You have to make NPI work for you. That's doing one-on-ones, that's going to events, that's looking at a calendar and figuring out what are the best events for me to go to make things happen. Those are all needed. Again, and then you can time block that, like we talked about as far as time and having enough time block that in your calendar. I mean, I've already gone through and looked at January's calendar for the Delray Chamber and the Boca Chamber and time blocked for both myself and Jack different things that we would want to attend. Will we attend everyone? Maybe, maybe not, but at least I've got them in the calendar so we don't get conflicts up against them. And then finally, I want to talk about customer dependency, meaning, sometimes we attract great customers and then we kind of lock down and we don't network anymore because we're like, oh, we have all the customers we need. Well, guess what? You know what? What if that customer leaves? So if they're reoccurring, monthly reoccurring, what if you don't have that customer tomorrow? That might be a problem, right? So think about how you can always bring in new business. And that goes back to the automation we talked about, because as a solopreneur, if you're the one that's implementing the service, whatever your service is, or the product, obviously you only have so much time. So then how can you start to automate where you can still bring in additional customers, but maybe they're not dependent on you implementing that service all the time? That's where that customer dependency is really critical. And then building strong relationships with other people so that, hey, maybe there's a piece of what you do that you can contract out to someone else. Just like I don't do all the website design and graphic design and copywriting and all that. That's not all me. I have a team that does that, but I can then contract that to different people that are experts in their own industries. As you grow, then your services and things can grow too. And it's not all about you at that point. So as a solopreneur, think about how you can build your business, especially if you're starting out. Don't ever feel overwhelmed. If you have questions about any of this I talked about today, feel free to connect with me at theallisonturner.com. I'm happy to kind of point you in the right direction, help you if I can. But as a solopreneur, you can do just as much as anyone else. Just make sure you have the resources in place and you can make it happen. My name again is Allison Turner. If you have any questions for me, any further questions, go on my website, theallisonturner.com. I do have like a complimentary consultation. I am happy to talk to you and see if there's anything I can help you with further and point you in the right direction or give you some resources. Or if I can help you directly as a business coach, I'm happy to help there too. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye for now.